Okay. So welcome to today's class. And last class we discussed about Java strings. So Java strings is class is done. So now we are discussing about the exception handling. Okay. So exception handling in Java. Okay. So before going to the exception and all abbreviations and definitions of exception, let me see the hierarchy of the exception. Okay. So in Java, so how this will be hierarchy in Java. So we know, so the superclass of Java is object. So we have an object class. So under object class, throwable is a class. Okay, throwable is a class, and under this class, okay, throwable is related to exception class. Okay, so this is the superclass of exception. So under this, we have a two kind of classes. One is the exception class, and another one is the error. Okay. So this exception will be categorized into two ways. Okay, one is a checked exceptions and another one is unchecked exceptions. So checked exceptions will be example of for IO or compile time exceptions. So when you are writing code, these exceptions will be occurred. So because of the syntax, because of the compilation, all kind of exceptions. So unchecked exceptions are the exceptions which will occur runtime, like a null pointer exception or any kind of exceptions. Okay, we will check. And error. So what is the error? So error will be the which will be the errors caused by the system space and all. So like out of memory error, out of mission error, assertion error. So it will be occurred. Errors are irrecoverable. Okay, irrecoverable, which means developer cannot handle these errors via program through program. So we need to provide sufficient space for our programming or our application, right? So these are the exception hierarchy. So up to here, are you clear?
Yes.
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 Okay. So if you see the types of exceptions, we will come here. So before coming here, we will see the definitions of exception and the examples also we will see. Exception handling, we will have a two classes. This is the part one. Okay. So tomorrow we have a part two. Why? Because this is a little bit more concept. We need to check in all each and every part of this exception handling area, so that many interview questions will cover from this exception handling. Okay. So what is an exception? The first question is, what is an exception? Exception is a unwanted or unexpected event which occurs during the execution of the program. That is a runtime exception, right? That disturbs the normal flow of the program's instructions, which means it is a unwanted or unexpected event, okay, which will disturb the during the execution of the program, so that program will be terminated, right? So it will disturb the normal flow of the program. So right, exception can be caught and handled by the program. So we can handle, even though it is occurred, we can handle. When an exception is occurred within the method, it's create an object. That object is called exception object. So it will be called dynamically by the JVM exception object. We can catch that exception. We can get that message. We can print that exception message by using try catch, by catching that exception. Okay. So it contains the information about the exception, such as the name of the description of the exception, state of the program when the exception is occurred, right? So when it will be occurred and the state of the exception, the cause of the exception, all information will be having this object. So we need to carefully handle this by catching this object. Okay, fine. So developer can explicitly write an implementation of handling an exception. Once an exception is handled, the normal flow of the code will be continued. So once it is handled, right, so the rest of the code will be executed. So that is what we need to do. Preferably, handle an exception ensure your code get executed normally. So whenever we are writing or handling an exception handling, so make sure the rest of the code or important code should be executed. Okay. So major reasons why exceptions are occurred. So what is the cause of occurring an exception in our code? Okay, invalid user input. If you are giving a wrong input, right, by validating or by writing code, maybe it will be occurred exception. Invalid user input. Okay, device failure, loss of network connection, physically limitations like out of disk memories kind of things, code errors while writing code, right, code errors, opening an unavailable file, so the file not found exception, something like that, right? So these are the might be causes while we are writing code. So make sure you, while whenever you are writing code, make sure all these things will be covered, handled carefully, right? Errors represents the irrecoverable conditions such as Java virtual memory running out of memory, right? So out of memory, memory leaks, stack overflow errors, library incompatibilities, infinity recursions, etc. Errors are usually beyond the control of the programmer. So that is the reason we just now we discussed it, right? Which are we cannot handle through programmatically. So that is the reason it is out of the boundary or beyond the programmer, the control of the programmer. And we should not try to handle these errors. Okay, and we should not try to handle these errors. We cannot catch that errors, so we need to handle before before starting our application. While when we are having the infrastructure of our JVM and space of the server and all, we need to take care of that system. Okay, let us discuss the most important part, the difference between error and exception that follows. Okay, just now we discussed it. Error indicates the serious problem that responsible application should not try catch. Okay, it is not a using a try catch, it will be a system related. When we are having that system, we need to provide a such sufficient space and all. Exception indicates the conditions that are the responsible application might be try catch. We can catch, we can handle using try catch. That is what. Now you can see the exception hierarchy. All exceptions and errors are subclass of a throwable. Just now we discussed it, right? Yeah. The superclass of exception is the throwable, right? So which which is the base class of the hierarchy? One branch is ahead by the exception. One branch is ahead by the exception, which will be under exception. And this class is used to exponential conditions that are user program should catch, right? When we can catch these exceptions. Null point exception is an example of such as an exception. Okay. Another branch is an error. Error. This is the error under throwable class. It is used to JVM to handle errors having do not run with the runtime environment itself. JRE stack flow error is an example of such as errors. Okay, that's fine. This is what an hierarchy of the exception. Now you can see the types of exception. Of course, types means checked and unchecked. Okay. Java defines several types of an exceptions related to various class libraries. Java also allows users to define their own exceptions. Okay. So user defined exceptions, built-in exceptions. Okay. Which means, yeah, user defined exceptions. We can talk later. That is nothing but a custom exceptions. So built-in exceptions, we have two kind of exceptions. Under built-in, we have a checked exceptions, we have unchecked exceptions. So checked exceptions are class not found exception, interrupted exception, IO exception, instantiation exception, instantiation exception, instantiation in the sense assigning the values or creating object kind of things. SQL exception, file not found exception. So all these are checked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions means arithmetic exception, class cast exception, null point exception, array out of bound exception, array store exception, illegal thread state exception. So any some other exception, etc. So these are the basic information about the checked and unchecked exceptions. Now we can see. So yeah, I categorize two, right? User defined exceptions and built-in exceptions. We will talk later about these custom exceptions. Okay, yeah, that are the user defined exception. Checked exceptions. All exceptions are called compile time exceptions because of these exceptions are checked at compile time by the compiler, right? So unchecked exceptions which are not checked by the compiler, which will be occurred at the time of runtime. You can see here. The unchecked exceptions are just opposite to the checked exceptions. The compiler will not check these exceptions at the compile time. In simple words, if a program throw an unchecked exception, and even if it did not handle or declare it, the program would not give any compile time error, right? So even though it is throwing an error, we are throwing an exception, it will not give any compile time error. It will be occurred only at runtime only, which are comes under unchecked exceptions. Okay. The advantages of exception handling in Java as follows. So whenever we are handling these exceptions, right? So prevention of the complete program execution. So a program execution will be completed smoothly. Easily identification of a program code, error handling code. We can handle that. We can separate that program code as well as error handling code. Preparation of errors. So based on the scenarios, based on the places throughout the application, we can we can define our exceptions and messages. We can whenever we are creating an exception, we can pass those exceptions. Preparation of errors. A meaningful error reporting. Whenever you are preparing your exceptions, you need to pass your exception message to the end user. So whenever he is passing invalid input, hey, you are not passing a valid input. You need to pass the valid input. So such kind of error messages we can report while these exceptions. Identifying the error types. So maybe based on the error messages, based on the error code. So this will be the file not found exception. This will be the arithmetic exception. That will be the uh, uh, internal server exception, error handling server not reachable exception. So we can identify the error types and exceptions, right? Now, while handling exception handling, what are the Java keywords are involved in the exception handling? You can see try, catch, throw, throws, and finally. So these are the keywords we can use when we are handling exceptions, right? You can see here one by one. Try. This is a keyword. This keyword is used to specify a block. This block specify a block, and this block must be followed by either catch or finally. Okay. You should not write only try. You need to write try followed by catch or finally. Okay. So catch will be catch the exception. Finally will be the you can relieving the resources and cleaning kind of activities we can do. Finally compulsory whenever you are opening a file connection, you need to close that connection in a finally block, right? That is what cleaning. You whenever you are opening a connection, you need to close in a finally block. So irrespective of exception, finally block will execute it always. So that is the reason all cleaning kind of statements we will write in a finally, right? Compulsory executed statements we can write in a finally block. Okay, this we cannot use the a try block alone. So without either catch or finally, we need to use. Without catch or finally, we should not use the try block. So that is what this under this meaning. So catch block. This keyword is must be catch. This keyword is must be prepared by the try block to handle the exception, and it can be followed by a finally block later. So you can after before catch block we should have a try block. After catch block we can may or may not have a finally block, right? The finally, this keyword is used to execute the program whether an exception is handled or not, right? So when we are handling or not handling, we can write this finally block. So we can after try we can use the finally, or after try catch we can use the finally. So catch is always responsible to handle the exception. Okay, whether you are handling or not handling, try after finally we can use, or try catch after finally we can use. Okay, are we clear?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, fine. Okay, throw and throws. So these are also very important. And finally, we already discussed about this, right? Now throw and throws. So these are the main keywords whenever you are stepping into your custom exceptions, or your throwing an exception into some other calling place. Okay, so throw keyword, this keyword use the throw an exception. So always this keyword we can create an exception within the method whenever you want to create a based on the condition, or inside the catch block. you can create an exception by using throw keyword. Throws in the method signature, you can throw the keyword. Okay, method signature. Then whatever you're creating an exception, the same exception you can throw the exception. Or if it is an arithmetic kind of exception, it will be occurred at runtime. You can throws using throws. You can throw that exception include in a method signature. Okay, that we will see how we can create an exception using throw, and how we can throw that exception via in a side of method signature. We will see. So right now the examples now. So till now, are we clear all these terminology related exceptions and definitions of exceptions and definitions of exception keywords? Are we clear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So now try catch. So we discussed about this try catch, right? So whenever you want to write our code, you need to write that code in a try block. So here you can write, and a catch block, you can catch that exception, right? So exception is nothing but a super class of checked and unchecked exceptions. So that is the reason I written here exception. Okay. So whenever you are printing a e dot get message or e dot to string or e dot message, right? So or print stack trace, these are the three methods we have in exception class. This exception class where we can print any kind of method, or you can directly print that exception, which will give that all related information. Okay, so try catch an example. You can see here. So simply we are catching an arithmetic exception. Okay, arithmetic exception. So arithmetic exception is the one of the exception under exception. You can see here. So a is equal to 10, and it will start from the 3 and greater than 0 and I minus minus. Okay, so say, greater than or equal to 0. Okay, greater than or equal to 0, a by I. So whenever it is coming to the 0, right? So 10 by 0, which means it will reach the infinity. It is a wrong statement. Anything by 0 will be uh, by 0 will be infinity. So it is a kind of mathematical arithmetic exception. So that is the reason Java people defined it is a kind of arithmetic exception. Okay, whenever it is coming, right? So 3 will be printed, right? After that, system out there printed, right? 3 okay, coefficient is reminder coefficient is printed. Okay, 10 by 3, 3 3 is a 9, right? So coefficient will be printed. After minus 2, right? So 10 by 2, 5 will be printed, and 2 5 is a 10, right? So after that 1 by 1, so it will become 1, right? 10 by 1 will be 10. So after that 10 by 0, so it will be arithmetic exception, right? So it will be catching that exception. We are printing the e. So by 0, it is whenever it is I as a 0, this will be occurred. Arithmetic exception will be occurred, that will be catched by this catch block. So whenever we are catching this exception, just we are printing that console. Okay, so up to here it will be printed up to 10. After that we printed from here. So this is what it is coming. Okay, so these statements, these three statements are executed by this one, and this statement will be executed printed by this one, but because of that exception. So are you clear?
It's very clear.
Okay, so now try. So this is a simple catching of an exception, arithmetic exception. So now about the try block, just now we discussed it, right? Try block contains the code that might throw an exception. See, this might be thrown an exception, or it will be executed smoothly based on our writing code. So don't write anything extra in a try as a statements after the exception. It will not get executed if the exception is occurred. Try must be immediately. Try must be immediately followed by catch block or finally block. So if you write after this statement, anything here before catch and after this statement, it will not execute. It will not execute, right? So you need to carefully write the code whenever you are defining a code. Okay. So right, see here. A is equal to 10 and this. So and also don't write anything extra statements after the exception will get executed if the exception is occurred. Try must be immediately followed by the catch block or finally block, right? So just simply we are writing a type block. We did not catch or handled by the written the finally block here. definitely it will be a compile time error. Okay, so it will be error. So no, maybe compile time error. So try without catch or finally or resource declaration. So try. So whenever you are creating a or declaring a try block, you need to provide, you need to add the code with respect to catch or finally. Otherwise, the JVM will not allow you to execute this program. Okay. So this is the compile time error. Okay. The catch block is used to catch an exception thrown by a statement in the try block. So catch block is always ready to catch that exception the thrown by the try block. So why? Because whenever we are whenever the exception is occurred in the try block, automatically try block will throw that error. Okay, throw that exception. So catch block will catch and it will be executed by the JVM. So the must catch block trials will give the compilation error. Okay, fine. See here. After try, just now we discussed, after try, we should not write any kind of statements between try and catch. Okay, we should not any statements here. So this is the try. Inside the try, you can write any kind of exception. Of course, it will be not executed if the exception is occurred. That is fine. But you should not write it. This is the illegal statement or illegal place of writing a code, right? So this will not considered JVM or our compiler. It will not consider. So it will be the compile time error, right? So try without catch finally or resource declarations. Okay, right? So you should not write a statements here. Okay, and two errors. One is the compile time. This is the error arithmetic exception, and second one is the you should not write here. Okay, you should not write here the statement. Either it should be a after try or after this one also. Between the try, you can between the try block or inside the try block, you can write anywhere. Okay, but after try block, it should be followed by the catcher finally. You should not write any kind of statement or any kind of code. Okay, statement codes. Okay, so this is error. Things to remember. Okay, things to remember. That is what I just now I decided defined, right? Do not keep any code after statement of which is prone to execution because of an exception occurred. It will straightly away jump to the catch or final block, ignoring all statements in the try block. So it will be ignored even though you are writing a remaining statements here. It will be ignored. Why? Because it will be catched by the catch block. So it will jump to here. It will not come here. So that is the reason you should not write here. Okay. Finally, so class you can see here try and immediate try, it will be catch. Of course, the exception will be occurred here. This will not print. Okay, will not get printed. That is fine, no issue. But you should not write here. Here after the class, the output divided by 0. So it will be executed divided by 0 at the minute whenever it is connecting, right? So that's fine. While occurring catch and exception, the catch block either can have directly class of an exception or its superclass. Now you need to very remember exception hierarchy. Okay, you can directly catch the direct exception, exact exception, which means what if you are able to understand your code line by line, what kind of exception it will be occurred here, it will be arithmetic exception. You can directly catch here. So directly you will get here, or otherwise you can define its superclass. Okay, exception. It is an exception. It is a superclass of arithmetic exception. This is also it will be catch. You can write these two things will be allowed. Okay, now you can write a multiple catch blocks. So whenever you are having a multiple catch blocks means you can write exception catch block or you can write arithmetic exception catch block after try. You can write. We can use multiple catch blocks also. So this is the incorrect way of writing program. So which means multiple catch blocks you need to write. You need to consider exception hierarchy. For example, you are writing, of course it will be arithmetic exception, but you are having catching exception and you are catching arithmetic exception divided by the 0, arithmetic exception divided by the 0. That is fine. You're declaring very syntactically. It will not give any syntactical error, but what it will give, exception already caught here, it will not reachable. It will not reach the your controller here. Why? Because arithmetic exception is the subclass of exception. So whenever you're writing these multiple catch blocks, your superclass should be last catch block. Your all subclasses of exceptions should be, it should be come here. So that is the hierarchy of declaration exception. Why? Because it will not reach any time. So whenever you are writing your code, right, it should be reached by the compiler or controller. It will come here line by line. It will be executed, right? Your cursor defined your exception here. This was already catched by here. Why? Because this is the arithmetic exception is the subclass of exception. So it will not come here. So if you write arithmetic exception here and exception here, it will execute. So incorrect way of writing catch blocks or exception hierarchy. This is okay. That is what. See, an exception, arithmetic exception is already been caught by here. Here. Okay. This arithmetic exception already caught here, but it will not come here. Okay. You are wrongly defined or you're wrongly written the code. Okay. Because of you don't know hierarchy of that exception. If you know the hierarchy of the exception, you will not write here like this. The correct way of writing here, simply you need to catch all subclass exceptions before, then later you can catch exception. So this is what a catching of exception hierarchy, subclass to superclass, not superclass to subclass. Okay. So like this you need to write. So divide by 0. It is coming here, divide by 0. Okay. Of course it will be executed. Are you clear?
Yeah, so you're saying that when we are defining the exceptions, we have to start for the, let's say, the child class instead of using the parent class, that is the super class.
Correct. Exactly.
And it is the super class is going to be catched at the end, not at the beginning of the catch block.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. If you're writing especially when you're writing multiple catch blocks, if you're writing only one catch block, you can write same exception or super class. That is what we are here declared, right? So
right.
When you're writing only one catch block, right, you can write exact exception. Okay. Exact exception you can write, or you can write superclass of exact exception. You can write a directly exception. That is also fine. Okay. But you want to specifically catch a multiple catch blocks with respect to exception occurred, but you need to write a hierarchy way, a proper hierarchy. Okay. All subclasses will be coming first and followed by the superclasses. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what writing of catching of exceptions. Okay. Now we saw about try, we saw about catch block, we saw about exception hierarchy, right? Now we are going to see the finally block. Okay. So contains the code must be executed no matter of exception thrown or not, whether exception is executed or not executed or handled or not handled. It contains the code of a file release, closing connections, etc. So we can write always cleaning kind of activities in a finally block, which should be executed must and should. So that kind of statements we can write finally block. So that is what importance of the finally block. Okay. So main. So try, catch, exception is occurred. So that will be arithmetic exception. After that, so you need to write the finally executed. Finally executed system.out.println. So system end. Okay. So in a finally block, you return a, these things. It will be executed. So first of all, this will be, you see, it is added arithmetic exception. So exception will be printed by 0, and finally we return finally executed and system is end. So these two are coming because of the finally block. Okay. If you are not writing finally block, it will not. So that is the reason always we need to write the cleaning kind of activities in a finally block. Irrespective of error is occurred or not occurred, it will be automatically executed. So are you clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And also finally will execute even we don't know, we do not handle exceptions before entering the program. JVM checks if there is a finally block. So whenever that exception is occurred, JVM will finally checking whether that finally block is having or not having. If it is having, it will be executed. So see here, if you are not handling arithmetic exception, JVM will handle. Why? Because arithmetic exception is already Java libraries, and it will take that, it will catch that exception, it will print. If you are not writing catch block also, if you are having final block, so it will be executed arithmetic exception, and it will be executed cleaning activities also, final block. If you see here, this is what thrown by the JVM. Exception is a thread, main thread. Our main class is throwing by 0 and main dot finally line number 4 of our code, line number 4. Okay, so output is then output. So uh, program output. So this is the cleaning. Okay, this is what it is printing. It is printed exception by the our JVM, and also whatever we are printing here, right? So this is also printing cleaning. It is also executed. So now you can see little bit confused about the question will be asked. Final, finally, and finalize. So these are the three keywords in Java. Okay. So they try to confuse you. They will ask the question, what is the difference between final versus finally versus finalize? Okay. So you can see here, final is a keyword in Java. Finally is a block in Java. Finalize is a method in Java. Okay. So you need to remember these things very carefully. First is final is a keyword. So whenever you are declaring a variables, you need to define a variable as a final. If you define as a class, that class cannot be extended, right? Finally, methods we cannot override. So fine, if you are defining a final, it's strictly within the class only. It's strictly with respect to that class only. The scope of the final. Okay. So right. So that is what final is a keyword. It will be applicable. The you need to understand carefully the priority of or the specifications of each keyword, and what is the use of that keyword, and why this keyword is having this in Java, and what is the responsibilities of that keyword. Okay, the final is a way, just it is a keyword which will be applicable for the variables and methods and classes. Okay, and finally it is a block. When you are writing an exception handling, a exception handling, if you want to write, if you want to handle some connection related cleaning activities, right? So you can use the finally block after try catch, or after catch block, or after try block, or after try catch, you can define. And finally is a method. So it will be, it is a method in a Java libraries, which will be automatically called by the JVM whenever the objects are no longer is used. Okay, the connections are not used. So automatically cleaning activity, the JVM also will do the cleaning by calling garbage collector. Before calling the garbage collector, finalize method will be called. So that is what will be done by the JVM. Okay. So now you can see finally use it to apply restrictions on class, method, and variables. Okay, this is the simple keyword. So if you want to restrict some variable or method or class, you can apply, right? So finally is a use it to used in coding. It will be executed whether an exception is handled or not handled. In that case, you can use the finally block, right? So finalize is a used to perform a cleanup processing before garbage is collected. See, this is also cleanup activities. Okay, by defined by the programmer, but finally is a method. Okay, it is a block. Finally is a block. After it will come the try catch block. Okay, finalize is a method. Finalize is used to perform the cleanup processing the before garbage collector is called. Garbage is called. Who will call that? JVM will call. Finalize is a method in Java. Finalize executes the just before distraction of the object, so that it will be internally called by the JVM whenever that object is no longer is called, so that finalize will be executed, and it will be destroyed by the object by the JVM. So are you clear about these three keywords in Java?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So whenever we are having this interview, right, they will ask this. So whenever you are having the specific, clear cut understanding of these three, you can define your in your own way. Okay. So this is what a finally, and finalize. So today class is done up to here. So tomorrow we will see about throw and throws and how we can create a custom exception. So these are the two we will learn about tomorrow. So after this class, sometimes so I will provide all these three documents. Part 2 of OOPS concept and part 2 of OOPS concept video. Strings document I already shared. I will provide that video link. And today's class also I will provide the video link. Okay, are you clear?
Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
great.
Yeah, thank you very much, and
Thank
we will
you.
meet tomorrow.
Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.